When you go to an art gallery, people talk about the composition of the paintings, or they talk about the composition of a photograph. What do they mean? Just that things are placed to be more agreeable to the eye than they might otherwise be. What does that mean? Well, the cameraman who's filming me here isn't really happy with the shot. It's pretty boring. I'm just dead center. So he's moving the camera to make the picture a bit more interesting. Notice what's happening? He's not got me dead center anymore. I'm about a third of the way in. So is the question mark. And the division of the painting, formed by the grid and the green here, is about a third of the way up. The rule of thirds places things more interestingly if you're taking a photograph than just setting somebody right up in the middle of the rectangle. Well, for hundreds of years, artists have been interested in the geometry of form and using it in composing their pictures. For example, you've probably seen this picture by Leonardo da Vinci. He was fascinated by the form of the human body, and in this, he's relating it to the geometry of both the square and the circle. Now, he was responsible for a very famous painting, one of the most famous of all. It's the Mona Lisa. And no one's quite sure what she's smiling at. It's a very mysterious smile. Perhaps she knew what Leonardo had done with the background. If you see several copies of this side by side, you can see that the background is continuous. The hills and the roads and the rocks all blend from one painting to another. Perhaps that's the secret of the smile. But Leonardo did more than that. He used very geometrical constructions in setting out many of his paintings. For example, this famous fresco of the Last Supper was painted on a church wall. At first sight, you wouldn't see the geometry that underlines it. Let's do a few things with it. Let's take a diagonal from one corner to another. Notice what it does along the line of the windows. It defines where they are. A diagonal from the other side does the same thing. They intersect right on the main focus of the picture, Christ's head. We'll split the painting into two, and we can see the way he's arranged the apostles on either side of Christ. There are 6 on each side, but look what happens when we put the intersections in. The first side goes there, and the second side goes there. And you'll see that those intersections split the apostles into 4 groups of 3, very carefully placed. Where are their heads? Well, a horizontal line through all the intersections shows all the heads along it. And another line, halfway down, runs through the food on the table. We could go on and on. In fact, we could cover the painting with lines and show the construction. And it really is based on a grid as complex as that. Well, that's a painting some hundreds of years old, but more recent paintings, of course, use the same geometrical construction. And this one is a very famous one by Renoir. It's just been doing the rounds of the country, and thousands of people have been to see it. It's the Luncheon of the voting party. It's based on a rectangle, which is really overlapping squares. And a square on the right-hand side runs down through the pole of the canvas awning. The square from the left-hand side splits an area of dark off on the right-hand side of the painting. A line down the middle runs through another pole of the awning. Let's put the diagonals in. You start to see, underneath them, the centre of attention of the party, the table of food and drink. And indeed, 2 more parallel lines isolate the bottles of wine and all the good things to eat. And notice that the placement of the people around there is embraced by an ellipse that runs through the arm and up round the curve of the back on the right-hand side. Well, we could go on with that painting too, but you get the idea. A great deal of geometrical construction underlying its composition. The next time you're in an art gallery, have a close look at the paintings. You'll probably find the same sort of thing there if you look carefully enough, and that's a lot to do with composition. And to give you a bit of practice, here are a few.